This is the first of my recollection videos. Sam gave me the idea, and the other kids mentioned it as well. Siri had some input, and it's a way to document my recollection of my favorite memories, mainly of my family. One of the first ones that just comes to mind is we lived in a rural area. Right now, it's in the city limits of Lubbock, and there's houses all around it. But at the time, there were cotton fields and pastures immediately adjoining our property, and we had a couple of acres and a big garden and a very big yard. And I wanted to have some chickens, and we had a dozen or so laying hens. And then in the spring, we bought, I think, 50 or 100, I don't remember, pullets, and raised them up for fryers and had a man process them for us. I think it was 50. But at any rate, I wanted to teach Siri and Sam some responsibility about taking care of animals and so forth, and they would rotate through feeding and gathering eggs. One week, one of them would help me feed and water, while the other one gathered the eggs and washed them and took them into the house. And then the next week they would switch responsibilities, and they would also take the eggs. They were the cutest things. They were about 5 and 7, I think, years old, and they would wash their eggs and then put them in little egg cartons and take them up and down the street. I would walk along the edge of the road, and they would go to neighboring houses and offer their eggs for sale. And of course, everybody bought some just because they were so cute. But one day, Sam went out to gather it was his turn to gather the eggs, and there was a wooden fence that divided our yard around our house and the area where we had the chickens and the garden. And he went to gather the eggs, and he came in, and I don't remember if there were no eggs in his little wire egg bucket or just one or two, but he came in and said, "Daddy, I said, where are all the eggs?" And he said, I dropped them and they broke. And he was just the cutest little guy you ever saw, and hard to ever be very mad at him. And I went, "Well, son, that's okay. Those, here was these great big old eyes looking up at me, and I said, that's all right. Those things happen." And I said, "Well, the good news is there'll be more eggs tomorrow." And so I went out later in the evening to pick some vegetables out of the garden, and I looked up on the wooden fence, and I saw that there was an egg had been splattered up on the fence about 2 or 3 feet high. And I took a few more steps, and there was another egg splattered on the fence. Took a few more steps, and there was another egg splattered on the fence. And all the way from the hen house to our house, he had walked along and taken an egg and chunked it onto the fence, splattered it onto the fence, took a few more steps, splattered it again, got another egg and threw it onto the fence. And boy, I immediately whirled around and beat it into the house, and I grabbed him up and I told him, "Next time you drop your bucket of eggs, they better hit the ground instead of the fence." And that's kind of my story about him learning to gather eggs, and it still is a story that warms my heart.